G'day my little robins, just a heads up, I did listen to metal, before this, courtesy of my dad, but during my high school years I discovered, some of my favourite bands / albums and shaped my own musical taste. So if you're curious about what albums, got me into metal, then keep watching. First up, we have Comalize by Lacuna Coil. My friend actually gave me their copy of Vampires Masquerade for PC, and it had an amazing soundtrack, and this album and band were featured on it. It also had some pretty cool artwork, which was up in your vampire apartment. This was probably a first time like a video game actually influenced and, showed me one of my favourite bands to date. My favourite song is Heaven's a Lie. Oh, Vampires Masquerade. #memories. Up next is The Heart of Everything by Within Temptation. Now, one of my teachers actually really liked this band and told me it was great music, to have on in the background while I was writing. This was really my first introduction into symphonic metal, which would become one of my favourite, subgenres that I still listen to date. It also reignited my love of concept albums, and can we just admit this now, Within Temptation, they've been around a long time and they have influenced a lot of people, and they are still on my writing playlist to date. My favourite song is The Truth Beneath the Rose, although I really could pick any because this is a masterpiece of an album. Up next is A Sense of Purpose by In Flames. Now, we all had that one friend in high school, well at least I did, who had that iPod which was full of amazing gems, and this band, even though today I do like a lot of the albums that came before this one, this was like the first time I heard something like this, and it both intimidated and intrigued 14-year-old Beth, and I haven't looked back since. My favourite song off the album is Disconnected, and it's always an album that when I introduce people to In Flames, I tell them they should check it out because it still stands the test of time today. Nocturnal by the Black Dahlia Murders comes in next. This album was actually recommended by, the same friend who recommended In Flames, and I will admit, to start with, this band and this album was not my cup of tea, but I went and revisited back in my last year of high school, and I realised that, okay, this is actually a really good album, a really strong album by this band, and I've been a fan ever since. I do feel like you have to be in a mood, to like the Black Dahlia Murders. It's not for everybody. If I had to pick my favourite song on the album, it is Everything Went Black. I should have known that because the lyrics are actually on the back of my shirt that I'm wearing right now. But yeah, Black Dahlia Murders. You still stand the test of time, and you're still one of my favourite bands to listen to when I want to release some angst. Up next is Watershed by Opeth. Now, I actually heard this in CEX, which is a second-hand entertainment shop here in England. I don't know if you have them anywhere else in the world. And the cashier actually, ironically, gave me a second-hand copy of this album, joking that I was spreading Opeth to the world. Now, this is a band that never fails to, disappoint, and I appreciate and, applaud all the hard work that goes into making, stellar album after stellar album. And Watershed, is up there as one of my favourite Opeth albums of all time. My favourite song is Heir Apparent. In the comments, I'd love to hear your guys' favourite songs off any of the albums I mention, or feel free to tell me your own favourite albums. And we can judge each other together. Bible of the Beast by Powerwolf. Now, this is one of those cases where the artwork actually pulled me in, and then I fell in love, with their image and, thought how each song is, unique and catchy. This was also my first introduction into power metal, and within Temptation and symphonic metal, because of Powerwolf, I have never looked back, and power metal, I'm a power metal fan. One day I will see this band live. If I had to pick my favourite song on the album, it's Panic in the Pentagram. Yes, I just had to make sure I said that right because I don't want to get any hate in the comments. Powerwolf are not for everybody, I will admit that now, but they are for me, and this is my video, so get over yourselves if you don't like the band. Design Your Universe by Epica is a combination of symphonic and power metal, and can we just all agree now that Simone's voice is one of a kind and all the instruments, really complement each other? For me, like I've already said, you know, symphonic power metal will always be two of my favourite subgenres of metal, purely because I always find, you know, that they are amazing storytellers. They put out some great concept albums, and they are always good to listen to when I want to get inspired, you know, to write. I actually saw Epica live, and they performed a few of the songs off this album, and high school Beth, I'm being honest now, I actually shed a little tear because I was so excited. Oh, if you don't know who Epica is, go check them out. My favourite song off the album is Tides of Time. And finally, I'm going to end this with April Rain by Delain. This should come as no surprise, I'm a massive Delain fan. And for me, April Rain is one of their most standout albums to date. Yes, you know, the band were still trying to like identify, you know, what their core sound was, but it has some of their strongest, you know, lyrics and instruments to date. I actually found this band after listening to Within Temptation and Epica. iTunes actually recommended it to me, so thank you, iTunes. If I had to pick my two favourite songs off the album, that's right, I'm doing two for this album because it's one of my favourites of all time. They would be Stay Forever and Control the Storm, which features Marco from Nightwish. Ah, yeah, Delain. I love you guys. Again, symphonic metal / power nowadays at its finest. Let's just wrap this up. If you want to support me and the channel, you can by clicking like to show me some love. You can click subscribe, nothing stopping you, and I do try and upload weekly. Check out my last two videos or playlist right here, depending on what mood I'm in when I'm editing this. Like my sign says, keep listening to good music. I'm Beth. Goodbye.